The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're gonna love it.
Okay, let's go.
The same man who bought the Twin Towers weeks before they went down recently bought the largest tower on the West Coast. The U.S. Bank Tower in California was recently bought by Larry Silverstein. And for those of you who don't know, Larry Silverstein was the same man who bought the Twin Towers 6 weeks before they went down. With recent FBI insights of a possible terror attack off the coast of California from Iran, the Department of War unveiling their new Lucas drones, an exact replica of the Iranian Shahed drones. Is this their target for a false flag attack to get us back in the Middle East, just like they did 25 years ago?
Larry Silverstein famously never missed a day at work. He showed up and ate breakfast on the 91st floor of the North Tower every single day, except for 9/11. He also took out an insurance policy that covered for terrorist attacks. After 9/11, he was awarded $4.5 billion in insurance. But what do you guys think about all this?
Is this going to be 9/11 all over again? Let us know down in the comments below. My name is Jeb Baugh.
My name's Aden Nicholas.
Like and follow for more America First content.
All right, this is the dynamic duo behind that clip everybody just heard, which now is over, I think, 20-something million views. I think I picked up like 15,000 followers from that clip. I'm not even kidding, so I appreciate you guys adding me as a collaborator. All right, everybody, the Deep Shallow Dive interviews are back. We've been on a little hiatus, but we're back with two of my favorite guys on social media. I'm not even kidding, whose combined age is still younger than me. So this is fantastic. Aden Nicholas, Jeb Baugh. All right, boys, welcome to the DSD.
Thank you
Thanks
for having us on.
All right, listen, let's talk about that clip real quick. First of all, there was some comments that people said, hey, Silverstein bought that building 6 years ago. I mean, whether he bought it 6 years ago or 6 days ago kind of doesn't matter. But like, how do you guys even find this stuff? Like, what was the impetus behind that?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I came down to Arizona for spring break. I met Aden on Instagram. We've been kind of friends since I was making content. And we were just scrolling Twitter and looking for video ideas and stuff like that. And we're like, wait a minute. This guy bought the bank tower in Los Angeles. And that's really weird because, he also bought the Twin Towers. And we all know what happened to the Twin Towers, and especially when he didn't go to work that day. So We were kind of just making patterns and analyzing the situation, and I don't know, we noticed something peculiar.
Yeah, the dots started to connect. And you guys, listen, man, my hat is off to the two of you and Gen Z in general, because, man, you guys are connecting the dots. Like Aden, is your friend network, or where are you in school at, Aden? Arizona?
I graduated. Yeah, I graduated from GCU.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like let's say your friend network, I mean, is everybody into this stuff, or are you guys kind of the minority when it comes to, really, wanting to talk about politics instead of talking about March Madness?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much all of my friend group.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know about Jeb's.
Jeb, what about yours?
I would say like the average normal person in high school has a more America first. I mean, not average person in college has a very America first, perspective of the world. They might not like focus all their talking points on it. They're still talking about sports, March Madness, stuff like that. But they aren't brainwashed anymore. They realize that, Israel has an overwhelming grasp on our government, stuff like that, things are expensive. The system isn't working for us anymore, and we want things to change.
Okay.
But I would say like the average American, college age kid is a lot more involved in what's going on in the world and really paying attention to what's going on.
I mean, I think that's incredible. Like, Aden, for you, what was it? What was the light bulb moment where all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this is like, what is going on?
That is a great story. And I was just talking about this with Claude, who's a mutual friend of ours, because he went to Palestine. While he was blowing up, I started sending all of my friends, or one of my friends in particular, his reels, because we were actually about to go to Palestine as well, more so for like a Christian pilgrimage. while I was there, one of the things that like really was wild to me was you would get an alert on your phone from the Israeli news app about like what's going on in the region. We got bombed 3 times while we were there because the Gaza war was still full-fledged. This was about a year ago.
Okay, wow.
And one of the alerts that we got on our phone, I remember like it was yesterday. It was that Israel had just launched a ground invasion like into Gaza, and it was a part of like this the specific operation that they were going to go try to get this Hamas leader, and they just launched this bombing campaign as well. And you would get updates on how it went. What was particularly so crazy to me was you could just feel, because we were staying in the old city Jerusalem in Palestine, and you can feel the bombs go off in Gaza.
Wow.
We felt 20 bombs hit the ground, and you can feel these places getting destroyed. And what was so, at least wild to me, it kind of like woke me up in terms of like wanting to, or at least being more open to speaking about this, was we got an alert 2 hours later on how the operation went. And they said the Hamas leader was not actually there, and they blew up like 2 apartments, a hospital, and killed 70 children. And I was like, that's a little wild. And then what you saw this past summer in Iran, they have the ability to do targeted strikes, and they just chose not to do that in Gaza. And to me, that was something that was like really, I got very emotional that day because you could literally feel these people being killed who had no connection to anything that was happening, and they were murdered.
Yeah.
So that was what was
And
really.
you were there on a are you Christian?
I am, yes.
Okay, okay. You
Well,
were there on like a
yeah, I hope
Christian
so.
pilgrimage, or what were you with who?
Yeah,
With
I
the
was.
church group or
I went.
something?
No, I went by myself. That's also another funny thing because I tell people we were at America Fest, and a lot of the Zionist guys, they asked, they're like, "Well, have you ever been to Israel?" And I was like, "I have." And they're like, "What group did you go with?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't go with a group." And every single time I would say that, there would always be a negative reaction because they expect you to go on these trips with specific groups so that you can have a specific opinion and believe a certain narrative about what is going on in the region. And that's across the board, by the way. If you have a Palestinian tour guide, you're going to get one story. If you have an Israeli tour guide, you're going to get another story. But I really went there because I grew up Protestant, and I was considering leaving Protestantism. And so I was really interested in Catholicism and Orthodoxy. And so by God's grace, I'll be baptized Orthodox in about a week. But that was kind of the trip that did it for me. It wasn't really a political thing at all, but it ended up having an impact on how I viewed the region. For sure.
That's amazing. You decided to go there by yourself. Your parents must have been like, "Are you nuts? Go to Cuba."
Yeah, the first text message that I got, or that I sent to my mother, was, "Hey, we're going into the West Bank. If you don't hear from me in 24 hours, contact the embassy." And so she was just freaking out.
Not a great text to send to your mom.
No, not at all.
Yeah, exactly. I think your mom would rather have heard you're like in a Cancun jail or something versus that.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so that trip for you, just the way it was playing out, and then I mean, I think that's very interesting when you talk about going in for one Hamas leader, and all of a sudden the collateral damage is just insane. You kill 70 kids. And by the way, oh, there was no Hamas leader. I mean, it kind of, you can't help but question, was there ever a Hamas leader to begin with? Probably not, probably not. It's just, it literally became such a broken record over and over and over again. And, in many ways, they're potentially playing that in Iran. Same thing. It's like, oh, we're trying to do XYZ, didn't work, but yeah, there goes 6 hospitals. It's all about destroying infrastructure. I think that what your generation and really everybody hopefully is aware of is that, this is not about liberation. This is not about the people. It's about deciding what's best for a certain group. And the best way to do that is to destroy infrastructure. Jeb, what about you? I don't even remember and if there was a moment that kind of, I don't know, I guess woke you up or made you get interested in all this?
Yeah, so my up and coming, when I was younger, I would always watch the History Channel. I love history. I love politics, all that sorts of stuff, anthropology, all that stuff. And then about seed oils, about 2022, I was like, well, seed oils are bad for you because I really liked working out, like eating healthy. I'm like, well, the government tells you that seed oils are good for you. So I was like, well, what else are they lying about? Then I start, reading more into history and stuff like that. Realize, well, there was a building 7, there's 3 buildings that went down on 9/11. And that was weird to me. USS Liberty, that was weird to me. They didn't teach about that in schools.
Yeah.
And I just thought all this stuff was weird. I was really hoping that Trump will win 2024. I voted for Trump the first day early voting. I was so excited to vote. I was like, Trump is our guy. He's going to save the country. Everything's going to be great. And Trump's just been such a disappointment. He's completely bought out by the Zionists, and I think he's been infiltrated after, 10 years in politics. That's what happens to him, man. Also, I do think that he's older, but it's just like I see all the lies that have been propagated by our government, the schools. I mean, all that stuff. And it's just like something needs to change. I think America today is almost like a modern day Weimar Republic. How are things going to change? I think that's going to be for people like me and Aden, young men who see the country that they want to save, see that things, used to be affordable. There wasn't just chaos all over the world. Israel wasn't, pulling the strings at every nation. And I think we will see change as, people like us get older and get into politics.
Yeah, I think so too. Where did you guys net out on Charlie Kirk before his assassination? Like, what did you think of him before?
Yeah, so Charlie Kirk, I actually thought he was like very much like pro-Israel, pro-Zionist, all this stuff, and I personally wasn't the biggest fan of Charlie Kirk. Ray, how I started doing this stuff was obviously that question Glenn Beck. I was going to ask Charlie Kirk the same question. That was my goal. But then, once Charlie Kirk died, I started seeing, Charlie Kirk was starting to criticize Israel. And, just now I've been seeing videos. Charlie Kirk was one of the biggest people against, a war in Iran. So Charlie Kirk had such a big influence. I think that they killed him because he was starting to wake up to the truth.
Yeah. Do you, Aden, do you think kind of the same thing? Do you think Charlie Kirk was maybe shifting sides and moving away from that Judeo-Christian mentality, which, by the way, is I'm not a religious person, but man, I've really tried to understand the hierarchy of Christianity. And I kind of look at it as an org chart. So you've got Christianity as like the chairman of the board. And then you've got Protestants, Catholics, and then it seems like Orthodox, right? Like those are the 3 big denominations. And then of the 3, man, it's the Protestants that seem like they were the ones that kind of drank the Kool-Aid, right?
I would say it's not all the Protestants. I would say mainly I noticed it's like the non-denominationals and the Baptists. That's what I see it.
Okay. Got it.
Probably a fair take, yeah.
Okay. So getting back to Charlie for you, Aden, like, was that somebody that, because I mean, Turning Point USA, I know was and is such a huge organization. Were you guys ever involved in that, or did you guys get involved in Turning Point USA in school?
Yeah. So I live in Arizona. Charlie lived right up the street from me.
Right. Yeah.
Fun fact, the last place that I ever saw Charlie was at a Catholic church last Easter.
Okay.
For me, though, what I find particularly unsettling about his assassination is that we just don't know anything.
Yeah.
I think I'm always really hesitant to say, like, it's this way or it's this way. This person killed him. This person killed him. I think it's a lot more wise to say we don't know who killed him, and that's part of the problem. Now, for the incentives of people, let's say a foreign government, to kill him, they're all there, if that makes sense. And what's really funny too is that, I don't know if you remember this, right when he got assassinated, the big, political commentator Fuentes came out and was like, Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. He's since walked back that statement.
Has he walked that back?
Yes, he kind of subtly, which I thought was really interesting. But he said recently, I saw a clip of it where he talked about the people who killed Charlie Kirk, and he was very clearly referencing what he believed would be Israel.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I think the incentives were all there because he would have been the biggest voice against the Iran war.
Yeah.
But I think the real problem is that we have no trust in our government, firstly. Well, not necessarily no trust, but we're losing trust at rapid paces.
Yeah.
And like, even if there was, because we do have like a narrative on who killed him, why he was killed, etc. But a lot of stuff just still doesn't add up. And to this day, I mean, we're post 6 months and nobody really knows like who killed him, why he was killed. We have a guy who had a transgender relationship who is currently being tried for it. But yeah, that's what's really alarming to me is that we just don't know. That's like,
No, totally. But then you look at like, and again, people can justify it any way they want, but you look at why did the university cement over that
Yeah.
whole area the next day?
yeah,
And then
I went there.
you
Yeah, I
did?
went there, and it is. Yeah, that's true. That is
I mean,
well.
that's just wild. And then I think a text message thread got released where it just was so shady. Like whoever was the project manager was just like, do it on the down low, be quiet about it, just get it done. I mean,
Yeah,
that's shady. And then
That was weird.
everything from what's his face, Kash Patel to the governor speaking and then talking about 33 minutes, 33 this, 33 that. It's
Yeah.
like who the heck uses that specific of a number? Now, if you understand the number 33 has a role
yeah,
in
Freemasons.
in Freemason stuff and a variety of all that. The problem is all of that stuff is just so over everybody's head, but like it's weird. And if you
It
pay
is weird.
attention, it's like, dude, when was the last time I described anything as, oh yeah, it took me 33 minutes to get there? Nobody says that, let
Yeah.
alone in a national press conference. It's just
Yeah,
crazy. What
yeah,
about
it's
go
it's
go
it's also like wild that just in like political assassinations in general, like we're just now starting to learn about the
Yeah,
JFK assassination with
yeah,
all of the documents that were released there. So even just from like toward the end of his life, I kind of like disagreed with him on geopolitics a little bit,
yeah,
but I do think he was a very like moral guy and a good person. And obviously, after somebody gets assassinated, you kind of have like a halo effect around them. But I
sure,
do
sure,
think
sure.
he at least wanted to do the right thing. That's the thing is that I think there's so many people who want to do the right thing, but they have their hands tied behind their backs and they're being led to do certain things. I think that's so many people, like a lot of people in the administration, here on fairly good authority are like that. They're totally
Yeah.
aware of everything's going on. It's just like, you know, you're being led to the slaughter and you know who's leading you and when you're going to die
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, you're kind of being neutralized. That's why, like, you look at somebody like Joe Kent who comes out.
Yeah.
I had this discussion with one of my great friends where he's like, "Man, I don't know about that guy." I'm like, "What don't you know
Yeah.
about that guy?
Yeah.
Like what is his upside in doing that? The guy's now being investigated by everyone under the sun. He's being thrown under the bus by everyone under the sun. It's like what's his upside? Like, why would he do that unless he just came to a moral place where he just said, hey, you know what? I don't care what the ramifications are. I don't care what the consequences are. Enough's enough. And it's interesting, his interview on Tucker Carlson, he kind of alluded to what you just said at the Trump level. He said, hey, who knows? Has Trump always been this guy? And has he pulled the wool over our eyes since 2016? And has this been like the biggest
grand plan.
psyop? Yeah, the grand plan?
Yeah.
Or is he under duress? Is he under duress? And then you look at what happened to Charlie, and I mean, man, talk about a warning to anyone that wants to potentially go against whomever. Who knows? Who knows who those powers are? But man, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's talk about Nick Fuentes because do you guys consider yourself like America? Like, is he your leader? Is he your leader?
I agree with Nick on some things. Leader, I don't think he can actually be a leader. I think he can be an online leader, but I don't think he can like physically be a leader. I think to physically be a leader, you got to have a multitude of, traits. You got to, work out, go to the gym,
Oh, okay.
actually interact with people outside of, online, stuff like that. Maybe I have like a girlfriend or a wife, stuff like that. But I don't have any, bad feelings, bad thoughts to Nick Fuentes. And I think he is very smart, very intelligent. But I do also think that he can be a little bit vulgar, which I don't think,
Okay.
is needed
Interesting.
in like, say, like, a large political figure.
Okay. Aiden, your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I agree with that last part for sure. I think it's always wise, at least for me. Like I have like personal theories on stuff, but I really don't know what I think about a lot of these people. Like we can question his motives. I will say that like no matter what we do think about him, we have to give him credit because like he was the one who went viral this summer and woke up pretty much everybody in our generation.
And he's pushed the Overton window very far.
He has, yeah.
Like,
and so I give
Nick
him
Fuentes,
a lot of credit for that.
Like Nick Fuentes is almost like a household name now. Like if I
He
said
really
Nick,
is.
Like, I mean, I have like all my friends who like could have no idea who Nick Fuentes was a year ago, or been like, oh, Nick Fuentes, and look him up and it's like a Nazi. Now they're like, oh, the funny guy on Instagram Reels. You know what I mean? I think that's a good thing for sure.
Yeah.
Is he considered the America First concept or movement, or, I mean, it's not really a full-blown political party, but that concept of America First, I mean, does that group consider Nick kind of the head of it or something? I don't even know.
Somewhat, I would say. I don't know. Nick Fuentes, like one of the things he was like, well, I think it's good to go in Venezuela because that expands the American empire and stuff like that, which I kind of personally disagreed with.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think we necessarily needed to go into Venezuela. I understand like securing the oil reserves. It is kind of our hemisphere. But I think like going into Venezuela was like the rough draft to go into Iran, which is now turned into a complete disaster.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that stuff is just bully ball, man. That's just bully ball. It's just like, okay. Let me see. What else I want to ask about Nick? Yeah, like I thought his takes on Charlie Kirk were just off. Like it was very surprising to me, a guy that is that critical about Israel pretty much across the board, to not even entertain the thought of their potential involvement with Charlie. Like that's where it's like, man, that's just strange. And then he came out with a few interesting things about the Epstein files where he said, they're not really pedophiles.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
That stuff is weird. What about where do you guys what are your thoughts on Tucker Carlson? Where do you net out on him these days?
You know what? I like Tucker Carlson. I've been watching him since I was younger, but he's not this grassroots guy. I mean, Tucker Carlson grew up, he always had the connections, the networks, the money, stuff like that. He went to Israel and was like, I'm being detained, which he really wasn't. They let him, out after a few hours. So that was kind of weird. And it's kind of, I don't know, like, I feel like he was very late to the game, to be completely honest with you. I was noticing this stuff probably, I want to say, late 2022, 2023. So I thought I was ahead of the curve, but I thought Tucker Carlson and even like Candace Owens, I think they were pretty late to the game. So it's kind of weird. What do you think, Aden?
I think he's going to run for office.
Really?
So yeah, you can bookmark that.
Okay. All right. There you heard it. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
Aden Nicholas makes his call. Tucker Carlson.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. That's just like,
you're talking president 2028?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know about president. You just saw the other day, who's that one guy? Oh my gosh, he's a Twitch streamer and he's the nephew of the Young Turks guy. Do you know what I'm talking about? Hassan Piker.
Yeah,
Hassan Piker just came out and said, he was like, if it was head to head between Tucker Carlson and Gavin Newsom, all of the normies would vote for Tucker Carlson because he's funny. And I actually kind of do think he is a little bit grassroots because I find him funny. I think most people find him funny.
I think he's funny.
At least the way that he like, I think Jeb's right about like a lot of his connections, and that's something that really just like susses me out.
No,
especially
totally.
his father's involvement.
Yeah,
because his father literally was like running the propaganda wing for I think it was the CIA, right? Way back.
Totally. Yes, exactly. And Tucker Carlson was one of the main guys that advocated for weapons of mass destruction, the Iraq War, Afghanistan. So you think to yourself, how are you that off on that? And then now you're on this end. But I will say this: times have changed, and for me, I truly think whoever they is, I think they made such a mistake with Gaza. I think they opened up Pandora's box in a way that they just never anticipated. Because prior to the past 2 years, again, if you buy into all these narratives where there's control of the banking system, there's control of media, there's control of entertainment, there's control of this, there's control of that. nobody would have known any of that stuff had it not been for Pandora's box getting opened up and live streaming on our phones. It's almost like I was telling a buddy, I'm like, again, quote unquote, they had a good thing going. Like, just ride that out. Why did you mess it? It's like they should fire Netanyahu. Be like, dude, why did you mess this up for all of us? Now everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
You know, it's funny when you brought up Tucker, I actually have some of these on my desk right now.
That's funny. His
Yeah.
little what is that? Like a nicotine pouch?
Yeah, it says nicotine brand because he
Okay.
like Zin donated to Kamala Harris or whatever, and so he was like,
Okay.
But yeah, I
okay.
think I probably think he's gonna run for president. Whether that's a good thing or not, I have no clue, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, he adamantly says he has no desire to, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah. What's kind of like your first impression of him now, Ray? Would you say?
You know, I will say my impression of him now is, as a journalist, I think he's doing the best journalism that's out there. You know, like, again, I listen to him religiously because, I mean, again, if he's controlled opposition, it's insane to me because he's literally calling out and bringing everything that is common sense to the table. You know, his interview with Joe Kent, it was excellent. And whether you agree with it or not, whether you say, oh, Joe Kent's getting paid by the IRGC, I mean, that's just so stupid. But there are people that say that. The bottom line is it was an excellent interview. Or he had on this Professor Jiang, you know, the Asian guy. Have you seen this guy? He's made the rounds.
Yeah, I've seen him. His videos are they're very interesting.
They're very interesting. The guy nails a lot of things. And then people are like, he's controlled opposition. It's like,
Right.
I
know, it's like you can't win.
No, you can't win.
Yeah.
But to answer your question on Tucker Carlson, I think right now he's doing the most honest journalism that can be done.
And he didn't even disavow Nick Fuentes. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, not to be like, oh, it's 40 chess, but like that's certainly my hope. And I will say that, like, if there was ever a political figure to fix all of that, it probably would be Trump. And I would also say that if, like, Donald Trump was aware of the overwhelming Israeli influence in the government, the number one priority would be making sure that you and I don't find out that he is aware. Because if the public is aware that the president is aware, now that is a national security risk, because guess who else knows that he knows? That would be the Israelis.
Yeah.
And so that's certainly my hope. And I hear some stuff like that from a couple of people that, like, I'm friends with in the admin, but I honestly have no clue. It's probably pretty unlikely, but that would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if that ends up being the case, it's like, oh my God, this stuff is wild.
It's like a movie.
I know.
What about Candace Owens? How do you guys feel about her?
I think Candace Owens, to be honest with you, some of the stuff she says is just a little bit ludicrous. Like, one day she was like, I saw Charlie in a dream, and, you know, she's talking about it, stuff like that. And again, I think she was late to the game. But I think, like, the biggest thing with all these people, you know, Tucker, Candace, Nick, we all can, you know, criticize them for little things here and there.
Yeah.
But the good thing overall that they're doing is really pushing that Overton window and just getting more people to look into this stuff, you know, question everything and, you know, do their own research and not, you know, just trust the narrative that's been pushed down their throat.
Okay. All right. Tell us what the Overton window is, because not everybody knows that.
Yeah. So the Overton window is pretty much just, you know, talking about more and more. You can call it radical, you can call it whatever you want, but just so, like, the middle gets more to the truth. It's almost what the left has done over these years. I mean, the left has really, you know, pushed that Overton window. So I think it's time that the right needs to push the Overton window.
Okay. All right. Got it. What about, well, who do you guys like? Like, is there anybody that I don't even know about? Like that?
I like Jeb Baugh. Jeb Baugh's pretty cool.
Jeb Baugh puts out some bangers. He puts out some bangers.
Only 19. I still got a few more years, I would say.
You're 19. Aden, how old are you?
Guess.
Well, you told me you graduated, so I'm going to say you're 23, 24.
I'm also 19.
Oh, you're 19 too? Oh my God.
No, I never. That's the first time I said that publicly. But yeah,
That is
yeah, I am.
fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. I love it. Listen. I love the fact that you guys Actually, honestly, I love the fact that you question everything. Like I expected a slightly different answer about Nick Fuentes. I thought you guys would both be like, "Nick's our god. We love Nick. Everything he says, we follow." But like,
Yeah.
that's fantastic that you don't. Even though a big part of you might be America first. I don't know if you consider yourself groypers or any of those stuff. It's actually great that you don't even label yourselves. You're just like, the tagline of this show is calling a spade, and I feel like that's what you guys do for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Ray.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really do. I really do. All right, let's talk about Iran. Aden, let's start with you. What do you think this is all about? Liberating the Iranian people?
No, definitely no. I don't think it is. And it's definitely not about the nuclear capabilities either, because that was what was really ironic. And I did like an X space with Lance videos on this because he used to be very anti-Israel, and then I believe he took a trip to Israel, and now he's like super Zio.
Oh, okay.
But we were all talking about the Iran war because right when it happened, there was no stated reason for why we just killed the Ayatollah. There was literally no stated reason. The only stated reason that we heard was from Marco Rubio, where Marco Rubio basically said, we attacked Iran because Israel was going to attack Iran. And if Israel attacked Iran, more U.S. soldiers were going to die. So we just attacked them preemptively. So basically, we attacked Iran to save American lives, which basically means that Israel forced us into the region. That would be the only like stated reason. But most of the people that you talk to who are very pro this war, the reasons that they gave were Iran's trying to develop a nuclear weapon. And I was like, okay, well, then what's the deal with what's going on, or like what went on this past summer? Because we supposedly bombed their nuclear facilities.
Yeah, we Top Gun Mavericked them.
It was a done deal.
Yeah.
It was a done deal. And another thing that people really forget about is that the reason that, firstly, the reason that Iran is trying to develop nuclear weapons is because the only other country that has nuclear weapons in the region is Israel. Now, Ray, do you know how many nuclear weapons Israel have?
The number supposedly is around 300, but according to Israel, they don't have any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows how many nukes they have. And that's because they were not cooperating with the IAEA in developing nuclear weapons. So they have internationally illegal nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
So the only reason that Iran wants nukes is because Israel has nukes. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that even if Iran had a nuke, it wouldn't be a threat to mainline the United States. And the reason for that is because Iran does not have ICBM technology, which is intercontinental ballistic missile technology. So even if they had a nuclear weapon, the nuclear weapon couldn't reach the United States, the mainland United States. So you take all of that into account and you're like, okay, well, that's probably not why we attacked Iran. The other reason, which, just to be totally honest with you, I haven't like fact checked it all, is that like the regime was killing protesters. I've heard both ways on that, and I don't actually have like a fully formed opinion on it, but that question will definitely get me to research it more afterward. Yeah, I find it very weird. One of the things that just happened today, though, which Jeb and I were talking about this before, was President Trump just came out and said that Iran is ready for peace.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because the narrative was that Iran was going to have no surrender. They were never going to surrender, and they never wanted peace. But apparently today, Iran, I don't know when this interview is going to come out, but as of the time we're recording this, President Trump just came out and said that Iran gave us like 10, I think it was boatloads of oil to signify that they are willing to negotiate with the United States. And so my hope is that Iran being willing to negotiate with the United States, I hope that there is a peace deal made. And I actually have hope that and I think that that's what President Trump is trying to do, because if that happens, there is now no excuse for a conflict in the Middle East. And so I have a slight hope that the president is aware of the real reason that we went into Iran, which was not for U.S. interest. It was for our ally in the Middle East's interests.
Right.
and that if they are able to negotiate a peace deal, there would therefore be zero excuse for either Israel or for the United States to engage in a conflict there. So that's kind of my opinion right now. But it's obviously developing because everything's happening so fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The challenge with peace is it's similar to the challenge with good health. It's not good business. If you're healthy and you're in good shape, that's not good. You need to have high cholesterol. You need to have high blood pressure. You need to have high this, high that, because that's what makes the money. And, when you think about the military industrial complex and what that entire system is predicated on, it's predicated on a boogeyman. It's predicated on a big bad wolf. There needs to be an enemy. There needs to be, something. This is something I've talked about a few times, but I need to crystallize it a little more. It's like before you guys were even born, the Soviet Union was this big bad wolf. And then all of a sudden in I think it was the late 80s, Reagan brings that to an end. The Soviet Union gets broken up into 50 different countries. And then it's 6 months later, out of the ground comes Islamic fundamentalism. All of a sudden, Islamic terrorists are here. It's wait a minute, where did these people come from? We never had this issue. So then that became the big bad wolf, and that became the boogeyman, and that became the problem. And then all of a sudden you had, going into Iraq with Bush Sr. and that first campaign, and then obviously building up to 9/11 and all that. And 9/11, building 7 is just it's still amazing to me that to this day people aren't wait a minute, why did that building fall?
Yeah.
There's no reason for that building to have fallen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. What else? What else, boys? What else do you want to talk about?
I was going to talk about Iran too, real quick. Okay. Yeah. One thing about Iran is they're a real country. It's not Libya. It's not Iraq. It isn't a dictator and the people are going to, take over the government, which those wars were terrible ideas as well. But Iran is a constitution, it has systems in place if, the top guy falls. And all those protesters, whether they were, Israeli or not, all those protesters were the same idiots that we have here at home. It was the Marxists, the stupid college kids that are just, completely against normal society. And it's really funny because you'll see Zionist conservatives or whatever, be oh, well, I want to make Iran great again. And it's the people that are protesting are libtards. So I find that completely ironic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, I think, so much is a playbook. And so you look at those initial numbers that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It was 1,000 people dead. No, nobody reacted to that. 5,000 people dead. Nope, nobody reacted. Finally, 50,000 people dead.
Yeah,
how are you going
100? Is
Yeah.
it an official number or something? Yeah, I want to look into that.
And how are you going to
I think that stuff was all fabricated. It actually reminded me of the 40 beheaded babies from October 7th that then literally the CNN reporter, I think her name is Sarah Sidner, she was the one who reported that because they said it in her earpiece. And then 2 days later, they came out and said, oh, we never got confirmation of that. But the damage is already done. They used that to enrage public opinion. And when I look at the situation in Iran and that initial kickoff, that's how they enraged public opinion by saying, they kept taking that number up and up and up. And the funny thing is now you don't even hear anything about that anymore. You don't even hear, wait, what happened about that? What's going on? Who's going to be held responsible for that large of a number? They just moved on from that.
And yeah, I agree. And I think that's that's really the part, because we have to be the side, no matter your opinion, you have to be somebody who's willing to fact check things and to really do the truth, because this also happened on the other side too. Because I remember seeing a video about this from a bunch of Zios. With Time, the front page was of this baby who was, I think, dismembered or something.
Yeah.
And I think it was over probably close to 100 million people saw that. Turned out that photo was fake. That child was just not real, and they had to retract it. but only like 100,000 people saw the retraction. So
Yeah.
the damage is already done, and it happens on both sides, which is what's really disheartening. And it's going to get even worse with AI too, I think.
Yeah. No, the AI stuff is out of hand. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Moving away from politics for a minute. Like, are you guys big ChatGPT users? Do you use
I
Gemini?
actually-
Do you use Claude?
Yeah,
Jeb-
I moved away from ChatGPT and I put Aden on Claude. And then also now there's like AI workflows. I don't know if you've ever looked into that, and like agentic AI.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you can like have AI write emails for you. I'm not super big into coding, so I haven't like fully implemented that into my life. But I think it could be like a useful tool to like help you out. But also one thing I noticed, Ray, is everyone who's creating and developing these AIs is of the chosen descent. So
Interesting.
that's weird to me. I noticed that's weird.
Yeah.
So I think that could maybe be used against people like us in the future. But I use AI in my daily life. I help it, edit videos, even like simple research tasks. So
Yeah.
I think it's overall a net positive, but I think someday it might be a net negative and will, hurt the average American worker. But also, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to predict the future.
But like, if you need to research something, or if you need to get yourself up to speed on something, are you Googling it, or are you going to ChatGPT?
I'm going to
Or
like
Claude.
Twitter, and then but I use Claude for like more normal tasks. I'd say like for news and stuff like that, probably Grok, or just scrolling on Twitter or look up certain things.
Okay. Wow. So you're using Twitter as kind of like a news search engine?
Yeah, I would say I use Twitter as news search engine. Yeah, I don't really use chat anymore. I probably haven't used chat since I got my new phone because I lost my old phone while ice fishing.
I remember that. Aden, what about you with AI? Is that something that's really part of your day to day?
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much to the extent of everybody else. What really concerns me, and this is like what's so crazy, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about this, is all the AI developers are like, yeah, AI is going to cause the end of the world. AI is going to take over the world and it's going to kill me.
Right.
And I was just like, so then why are we not like, actually, the only other person I've heard speak about this, I think, is Tucker. And he was just like, why don't we just blow up the servers? Like, and obviously there's problems with that too, because it's going to get developed at some point. So you would have to like continually do that every like 50 years or something.
Yeah.
But it's something that's really scary. It's obviously a great tool when you're working on stuff.
Sure.
But I'm pretty knowledgeable in it, and I use it for like work and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. How about you? What do you use it for?
No, I mean, listen, I think it's incredible. And I think if you learn how to leverage it, getting things done is amazing. It really helps me think through so many things. It's unbelievable. Then I think about, it's like Sam Altman coming out and saying AI is the worst thing ever. It's going to ruin the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you're the CEO and founder of ChatGPT. So that stuff doesn't make sense to me.
I do think it's somewhat almost like a nuclear bomb. I mean, we have like China and America all rushing to have the most powerful AI, because I think that is somewhat like the future. AI and AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
AI will
yeah.
eventually be smarter than humans, which that's really scary. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you just go somewhere without cell service, and I think eventually, I think AI only has so many, things it can do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to Jeb's point on that, like Elon came out and said that AI is far more. He said this years ago. He said that AI is far more dangerous than nuclear weapons. And I think actually, you'd have to fact check me on this. I remember Elon saying that, like, to ensure the survival of the human race, that's why we have to colonize Mars. Because, like, let's say AI gets so advanced that it's taking over robots and it starts shooting everybody. So let's say you do go off the grid, it just tracks you down and kills you. Like, I think that's like a big motivating factor for why he wants to go to Mars, interestingly enough.
But like, that's crazy to
I
me.
know.
Elon's
Elon, I don't know about that dude, man. I don't know about like, if there ever was somebody and they said, Ray, you pick one guy who's controlled opposition, I would pick Elon. I
Really?
don't even find him that smart. I really don't. Yeah, I genuinely don't. I think he's been placed in this position, and I think he is a Pied Piper of many of these things. And I look back at like when he pumped Doge and pumped crypto and pumped all that. And now it's like, again, things that are like everywhere and then they're nowhere. That's weird to me, you know?
Yeah.
And like,
what do you think about his acquisition of Twitter overall?
I mean, I think that was interesting because obviously Twitter was getting to a point where there was no free speech on it. And then now, you know, is there free speech on it? Maybe. Yeah, I think there definitely is. But even Twitter seems to get ratcheted in on certain people talking about certain things. You know, I think everything gets to a point where they push, and then they realize, okay, we can't push anymore, so let's back off a little bit and let's see what happens.
Do you think if the Dems win in 28, there's going to be almost like hate speech laws, how they have in like, you know, England and Germany?
Maybe. I mean, honestly, I'm at a point where I really don't think there's any difference between Democrats and Republicans. I genuinely don't. I thought Trump was that guy. I thought he was going to be the breaker of chains, you know, Khaleesi and Game of Thrones or whoever.
Yep.
And again, I mean, God, if you really want to think this thing through, is he playing some crazy 20D chess game to figure out a way to get the controlling parties out of this world once and for all? That's giving them like unbelievable benefit of the doubt.
Because there is something to think about. And that's like, no one can really run for the Republicans in 28. Vance obviously has no choice of, you know, winning. Rubio, he's just kind of seen as like a warmonger. And like, what if it makes the whole GOP collapse and we see more people run, you know, such as like, you know, James Fishback in Florida and stuff like that, which, you know, would be really interesting to see. And I'd really like to see who the Dems put out. I was talking to a guy and he was talking about, you know, Pete Buttigieg might be put as the Democrat runner, which at the end of the day, he is gay. And I think it's almost like, you know, having a black woman, but they're saying, you know, he's very centrist and, he won't say it publicly, but I've heard on, you know, from insider sources that he realizes that, you know, Israel does have a grappling effect on American politics.
I mean, listen, if the three of us realize that, and if literally my gardener the other day was telling me about it. I mean, everybody realizes.
Everyone knows. Everyone. The normies know everyone,
Exactly. So like when people say, oh, I think Pete Buttigieg realized, of course he does.
Yeah.
When the normal person on the street realizes it, and when you go to social media now, and again, the absolute most normie house mom in San Diego realizes it, the people that have access to way more information than we do, of course they realize it. The problem is that it's a system and they know where their bread is buttered, you know? And right now, the only guy to me that is really on point most of the time, if not all the time, is Thomas Massie. Like Thomas Massie has not said anything that made me be like, ooh, that was kind of weird. Like when I was big into my, wow, Nick Fuentes, man, this kid is on it. And then all of a sudden his Charlie Kirk takes, I was like, oh, dude,
that's weird.
You just ruined the past year of my support with that. But like Massie so far has just been completely solid. And then you see Trump going after him. And it's just like, it's insane. And then listening to Lindsey Graham, like I tell people, I'm like, if you're on the same team as Lindsey Graham for pickleball, let alone regime change, you're on the wrong side of history, man. That dude is just a psycho. He's just a psycho.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, anything else you want to talk about? Or this was a pretty good conversation?
Immigration.
Okay.
I feel like that's also another big issue. I mean, Trump was supposed to be this guy, we're going to see mass deportations, stuff like that. And Obama deported more people. He's going to Minnesota, which I think there's too many Somalians in Minnesota. I've said
Yes.
that before. I'll
Jeb
say it
Baugh is
again.
the Somalian guy. When
That's
it
true.
comes
I'll
to
say it every
Somalians,
day. I'll say it every day. Like Minnesota, for example, it doesn't have as much illegals to say, California or Texas has. So I think that was, there's some political malicious moves there. But I also think Trump could have sent in the military because, I mean, I've been to downtown Minneapolis. It looks like a third world country. I mean, something's not right. Why didn't we do a regime change, to Tim Walz? If we're going to do regime change and actually try to be America first, why aren't we doing stuff like that? I mean, it's terrible that the Somalians are complete nuisance for Minneapolis. I'm not trying to just talk about that. But Trump was supposed to really do something, change for immigration, but he's not. So I see that as like, well, that's sad. That's like not what I voted for as well.
yeah, yeah. I think and that it's kind of like, yeah, what happened to that? Like,
Yeah.
why is he not like being hardcore about that as what he ran on? That's just, oh my God, there's so much.
It's the left wing. It's the left wing chosen people, and it's the right wing chosen people, and they both work together.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else I've noticed. I'd be curious to get both of your thoughts on this. Prior to this term, man, people went at Trump hard. For the past 8 years, he was Hitler, he was a Nazi. Obama went at him hard, Biden went at him hard, Kamala Harris, Pelosi. Now, I don't really see any of those Democrats going at him hard. Instead, it's half of MAGA that's going at him hard.
Yep.
And they're like, yo, dude, you're not the guy we voted for. What happened to him? But you don't see these Democrats going at him hard. So then if you scope that up, you're like, okay, who is the master of both of these? Maybe that's why they're not going at him hard,
Yeah. No.
Yeah, maybe. And I think like
I
to the
agree.
immigration point as well, this kind of ties in. A lot of people, like I'm a Christian, so I believe we have to like love immigrants, but I also have like very like hardcore take on immigration, and I think you can have both of them at the same time. I don't blame a lot. I was just in Virginia at what was it, Tyson's Corner, and a friend of mine, Ben Luigi on Instagram, we made a video. His went really viral on X, but the entire place it's just migrants, legal and illegal. And we have to understand that, like, I don't blame them for coming here. I don't.
Yeah.
The problem is that we destabilize their region, and now they come here and we let them in.
Yeah.
And like that, firstly, that's against our own laws, because I think it was it's Title 10 of U.S. Code, which is about immigration. It says that if you're going to seek asylum, the place that you seek asylum is in the first country that you step foot in. Meaning that somebody from Mexico, the first country that they would step foot in would probably be the United States. But if you look at somebody from like China or the Middle East, the first country that they're going to step foot in is probably going to be a place like Italy or Japan or other like places of that sort. And so one of the things that I think gets missed is like having at least some sort of compassion for these people, because not a lot of people want to leave their homeland. The problem is that, and I think a great example of this, I was just talking with a buddy of mine about this, is Japan. We nuked Japan, but then we also gave them reparations to rebuild.
Yeah.
So all of the Japanese people stayed there because they could. We don't do that with places like the Middle East or any other places.
Yep.
And so I think that's a huge problem as well, because we have to cut it off at the source. And also we got to find, I think, better ways to enforce our immigration law, because having ICE go out into Minneapolis and make TikTok edits of, some innocent family's home that they raided, it's probably not the best way to go about it. Firstly, because you're not doing any deportations. And secondly, because everybody's mad at you for doing the deportations. You could just shut off, there's so many other ways you can incentivize these people to leave the country. And obviously I have like a pretty hardcore view on immigration in terms of like legal immigration as well, because I think that's a big problem. It's something that I think is a state of emergency. And, I liken it to if your house is being invaded and some totally innocent homeless man asks you if he could, have dinner. You're like, hold on, brother. Like, we're in a state of emergency. Our home is getting raided.
Yeah.
Let's put that off to the side, because you have to have sympathy for these people, because a lot of these, they don't have, sometimes their human rights are at risk as well. So you have to have that compassion there, but at the same time, you do have to enforce the laws. And I think that there are very good ways that we can enforce our laws, and also we'll eventually have to probably change the laws as well in terms of like legal immigration, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
Some other too. So
no, it is a very, I mean, it's a complex topic, but anything that all of a sudden becomes so big, I don't know, I question everything. And like, I'm at a point where like anything that happens in a grand scale, I think is premeditated and being done on purpose. Now, why are they doing that? What is the setup? What is the play? I mean, who the heck knows? But I definitely think it's,
I see it as like this. I see the right wing, the Zionists, the Netanyahus of the world. I think that they see it as the best way for their people to survive is having their own country, having strong borders, having a strong military, going into Gaza, stuff like that. And the left wing chosen people, they think that the best way for the survival of their people is by destabilizing and undermining the values of the nation which they reside in, because they themselves are a minority. So they push for minority rights, and they eventually get more power for their people group because, they're ethnocentric and, give each other, special provisions compared to someone that's not of their people group. That's kind of the best way I see it and the most simple explanation.
okay. That's
But yeah.
fair. That's fair. Last question, TikTok. What's going on with that? Like, are you guys on that? Is that, I mean, obviously Larry Ellison buys TikTok. I mean, I noticed a change in the algorithm. Is that something you guys have noticed?
Yeah. Well, I still use TikTok, but I think TikTok is very, very left wing. It's very left wing. And, even left wingers, they'll be like, free Palestine, I'm against the state of, I'm against Netanyahu and maybe against the state of Israel. But as soon as you're like, well, it's, kind of, a lot of them, they're like, oh, okay, you're worse than, Netanyahu. So I don't know. I think the left-wingers never get. The left-wingers will never get it, but TikTok has definitely, changed.
Okay.
I have never been on TikTok, actually, because it used to be owned by China, and I was like, I'm not giving the Chinese my data.
Okay,
And then
all right.
it got sold to Larry Ellison, who's like Netanyahu's best friend. So I just haven't gotten on it. I think Instagram's like a lot better. I try to focus on like Instagram, X, and God willing, soon I'll be doing some YouTube. But I don't know. How about you? Are you on TikTok at all?
I mean, I am, but man, I can get no traction there. No traction whatsoever.
Me
And I really have noticed a change in the algorithm. Even what I'm being shown, it's a lot more just goofy, funny stuff, which by the way, there are some hilarious stuff on there. So I now use it more for comic relief, whereas before I was using it as my primary research tool. Like something would come up, I would be like, oh, let me find that clip in TikTok. I'd always go there. It would be there 12 ways to Sunday. Download it. They did a really nice job of making it really easy to download stuff. And so like a lot of times for the podcast, I'd upload clips that I found on TikTok. Now I'm just not finding that to be the case anymore. But anyway, all right, listen, you two, keep at it. Keep doing your videos that you guys do together. I know it's challenging when you're not in the same place, but honestly, I think you guys have a great dynamic together. You have a huge supporter in me. Definitely add me as a collab in all these, especially the 20 million view bangers. And when Jeb is hitting on the baddies, getting their opinion on Iran, add me to those as well. But now listen, I honestly, I commend you guys so much for just calling a spade on everybody and not letting anybody get away with anything. Even the people you like, I love that. I love that. Like, yeah, you like X certain amount of things that Nick Fuentes does or Tucker does or whoever, but still, if they do something that's sus, you call that out. I think that's great. I think that's the level of accountability we need with everybody across the board, because you never know what ulterior motives people have. So anyway, I'll let you guys close with any closing statements. Jeb, let's start with you.
Well, my name is Jeb Baugh. I've been doing this stuff for about 5 months. I hope to be a congressman or a senator in somewhere like Minnesota or North Dakota someday. I focus on America First stuff. You guys should check out my Instagram. It's just jeb.baugh. And that's about it.
Can't believe it's only been 5 months.
I know, me either.
You had 2,000 followers in our first episode. And by the way, Jeb is over like 126,000 now.
Yeah.
All right, Aden. Aden, you get the last word, my man.
Thank you, Ray, for having us on. It's a joy to meet you. I hear a lot of like good stuff about you from Jeb. Jeb always says that Ray's like one of the top people that he trusts. So it's good to finally meet you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on. I mean, my Instagram handle is at the Aden R Nicholas. You can find me on Twitter as well. I think my Twitter handle is the Aden Nicholas. But yeah, I'm overjoyed to have this platform, and I think that as Americans, we have to come together. If you love your homeland, you should fight for your homeland, and you should do what is right, whether that be calling out things that are happening geopolitically, happening domestically. And so everybody's just got to get on the same page, and we have to pray for each other, and we got to do the work. So that's what we're here to do. And I'm glad I'm doing it with Jeb and with you and with everyone else in our space. So
Absolutely.
thanks
Absolutely.
for having us on.
My
It's
pleasure.
one struggle.
It's one struggle.
It is,
struggle.
It is one struggle. It
There we
absolutely
go.
is. It absolutely is. All right, you two hang on the line. All right, everybody. Deep Shallow Dive interviews are back, and it's been a pleasure having these two guys be the first interview in like 3 months that I've done. So anyway, we'll hear more from these guys. Maybe when Aden transitions to being Orthodox, right? Is that what you said you're gonna? Okay, all right. We'll have to talk about all that.
Yeah.
Jeb, we'll have you back on as well. Have you guys on together. And that's it, everybody. Listen, call a spade like these two guys do, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.